In the mountains of West Virginia is a house quite unlike any other. This is Halliehurst, a 23,000 square foot fantasy clad in shingles with towers and turrets galore. Hi everyone, Ken here. Hit that subscribe button and let's explore this house. This video is brought to you in part by Victorian Society in America. More on them later. In 1841, Stephen Benton Elkins was born to modest means near New Lexington, Ohio. When he was still young, his father Philip T. Elkins moved the household to Westport, Missouri, a frontier outpost that would later be absorbed into Kansas City. Growing up on the edge of the American frontier shaped Elkins in ways that would define the rest of his life. He watched covered wagons rolling west along the Santa Fe Trail from the time he was a boy, and that restless energy never left him. Despite the family's limited resources, Stephen managed to attend Masonic College and then graduated from the University of Missouri at Columbia in 1860, finishing at the very top of his class. For a brief period after graduation, he took a job teaching school in Cass County, Missouri. Among his students was a local farm boy named Cole Younger, who would go on to become one of the most notorious outlaws in American history as a member of the James Younger Gang. It's one of those bizarre footnotes that feels like it belongs in a novel rather than a biography. The future Secretary of War teaching arithmetic to one of the nation's most notorious bandits. But any sense of normalcy was shattered almost immediately. The Civil War tore through Missouri with particular ferocity, and the Elkins family found itself literally divided. Stephen's father and brother enlisted in the Confederate Army, while he chose to fight for the Union. He joined up as a captain of the militia in the 77th Missouri Infantry and saw action at the Battle of Lone Jack in 1862. When the war ended, Elkins made a decision that would change everything. Rather than return to his hometown, he decided to follow the covered wagons he'd watched as a boy. Elkins arrived in Mesilla, New Mexico in 1864 and began practicing law. Within a year, just 1 year, the local population respected him enough to elect him to the Territorial House of Representatives. By 1866, he'd been appointed district attorney, and by 1867, he was serving as Attorney General of the entire territory. But Elkins wasn't just building a political career, he was building a fortune. He founded the First National Bank of Santa Fe and served as its president. He invested aggressively in land, mining, and railroads. And he became deeply enmeshed in what historians would later call the Santa Fe Ring, an informal but enormously powerful network of lawyers, politicians, and land speculators who dominated territorial New Mexico, manipulating surveys, exploiting legal loopholes, and using political connections to patent land grants in their own names at the expense of natives whose families had lived on the land for generations. It was the Gilded Age at its most ruthless, and Elkins was right in the middle of it. In 1872, he was elected as New Mexico's territorial delegate to Congress, and he was re-elected in 1874. It was in Washington that his personal life took a pivotal turn. He met Hallie Davis, the young daughter of Senator Henry Gassaway Davis of West Virginia, one of the wealthiest and most politically connected men in the country. They married in Baltimore in 1875, and the union brought Elkins into the orbit of an entirely new world of East Coast power and industrial wealth. Senator Davis saw something in his ambitious young son-in-law and invited him to become a partner in developing the vast timber, coal, and oil resources of West Virginia. Together with Davis, his brothers, and business associate R.C. Cairns, Elkins formed the West Virginia Central and Pittsburgh Railway, which opened up a huge swath of previously inaccessible wilderness to industrial development. By the late 1800s, Elkins and his father-in-law between them controlled roughly 80,000 acres of land. And now, Stephen Benton Elkins, the broke kid from the Missouri frontier, needed a home to match the scale of what he'd built. He sent a scouting party into the mountains of Randolph County to find the perfect location. What they chose was a site perched on the rim of a mountain overlooking a wide valley along the gentle curves of the Tygart River. It was here, in 1889, that Elkins decided to build his castle. The house would be called Halliehurst, a loving tribute to his wife Hallie. And from the very beginning, it was conceived as something extraordinary. The inspiration came from Hallie herself. During a trip to Germany, she had fallen in love with a castle she'd seen along the Rhine River. The image stayed with her, and when it came time to build their West Virginia home, she wanted something that captured the spirit of that Rhineland fortress, adapted of course to the American landscape and the realities of mountain living. To bring that vision to life, Elkins commissioned Charles T. Mott, a prominent New York architect, to design the house. Mott rose to the challenge with a sprawling, three-story plan that was ambitious in scale. The result was a 23,000 square foot mansion containing 56 rooms, though some sources cite 31 rooms at initial completion, suggesting the house expanded over the following years through additions. Either way, it was enormous by any standard, and particularly astonishing for a house built on a remote mountainside in late 19th century West Virginia. Architecturally, Halliehurst is a fascinating and somewhat difficult building to pin down stylistically. The Society of Architectural Historians has classified it as a good, though, in their measured assessment, not outstanding, example of the shingle style, which was popular in American domestic architecture during the 1880s and 1890s. The exterior walls of the first floor are clad in German drop siding, while the upper stories are finished with wood shingles, a combination that, along with the building's general horizontality and informal layout, gives it an unmistakable shingle-style character. But Halliehurst is also clearly reaching towards something more romantic and eclectic. The towers and turrets, of varying diameters and heights, are vestiges of the Queen Anne style, and they give the whole composition a decidedly castle-like silhouette. Before we head inside, a quick word about the sponsor of this video, Victorian Society in America. Are you captivated by historic architecture? Want to explore, learn, and dive even deeper into the past? With the Victorian Society in America, you'll have the chance to travel to American cities and tour stunning 19th century buildings, pursue learning through internationally acclaimed summer programs in American cities and abroad, including Chicago, Newport, and London to name a few. Additionally, members will enjoy a free subscription to 19th Century, the semi-annual publication packed with articles on art, architecture, preservation awards, and book reviews. Visit the website below in the video description and become part of the Victorian Society in America today. Thank you, Victorian Society in America, for sponsoring this video. Now back to our tour. Inside, Halliehurst was every bit as impressive as the exterior suggested. The first floor rooms were designed to be spacious and grand. The parlor, dining room, library, and great hall are all beautifully appointed with woodwork and trim of native West Virginia hardwoods, including rich oak paneling and beaded trim work. The fireplaces, and there are many, are wide and elegantly finished with combinations of tile, wood, and stone, several featuring massive marble surrounds with hand-carved wooden mantelpieces that are genuine works of craftsmanship. Every room on the main level was heated with steam and supplied with running water, modern conveniences that were far from standard in 1890 and certainly not in rural West Virginia. By the time Halliehurst was completed, Stephen Benton Elkins was already one of the most powerful men in the country. In 1891, President Benjamin Harrison appointed him Secretary of War, a position he held until 1893. During his tenure, he pushed for increased pay for non-commissioned officers, advocated for reviving the rank of lieutenant general, and broadened the intelligence capabilities of the Division of Military Information. After leaving the cabinet, Elkins was elected to the United States Senate from West Virginia in 1895. He would be re-elected twice, serving continuously until his passing in 1911. After Stephen's time, Hallie Elkins and the family continued to spend their summers at Halliehurst. The house remained the family's beloved mountain retreat, and the rhythms of life continued much as they had before. But in 1923, Hallie made a decision that would shape the future of both the mansion and the community. She and her children deeded the entire Halliehurst estate, the mansion, and approximately 60 acres of surrounding land to Davis and Elkins College, the institution she and her husband had helped found nearly 20 years earlier. It was an extraordinary act of generosity, and it transformed the college overnight. In 1926, the campus relocated to the land surrounding Halliehurst, and the mansion became the focal point of the new campus. By the 1980s, however, Halliehurst was in need of serious attention. A major restoration effort was undertaken, beginning in 1986 and continuing through the 1990s. Today, Halliehurst stands fully restored to the style and spirit of its original intention. It houses the offices of the president and other administrative offices of Davis and Elkins College, a fitting use for a house that was always at its heart about ambition, vision, and the belief that great things could happen in the mountains of West Virginia. And with that, I'll turn it over to you. What did you think about this rather unique house? Let me know down below in the comments section. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Victorian Society in America for sponsoring this video. Check out their link in the video description to find out how you can get involved today. As always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time on This House.